Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Deepika Mehto, and coming up in the next 1 hour. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu agrees to send delegations to Egypt and Qatar to push forward negotiations. US President Joe Biden announces plans to visit Baltimore next week, says he wants the federal government to pay for the bridge's reconstruction. India's President Draupadi Murmu confers Bharat Ratna, the highest civilian awards, to 5 luminaries. Vice President Jagdeep Thankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends the award ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan. And India's Rohan Bopanna with his Australian counterpart Matthew-Ebden all set to play their Miami Open Super Finale tonight in men's doubles category. As efforts to secure a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict continues, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed to send delegations to Egypt and Qatar to push forward the negotiations. Negotiators have been trying to secure the release of Israeli hostages as part of a possible Gaza ceasefire deal. Meanwhile, the United States, under the Biden administration, has authorized the transfer of billions of dollars in bombs and fighter jets to Israel. The Israeli army released footage on Saturday showing strikes on Hamas targets in Gaza. The army also described the targets as Hamas infrastructure and a tunnel shaft. Israel says it is targeting Hamas militants who use civilian buildings, including apartment blocks and hospitals, for cover. Hamas, however, have denied the claims. Israel's military has also denied claims of an Israeli airstrike on a vehicle carrying United Nations observers in Lebanon on Saturday. According to the security sources, an Israeli airstrike on a vehicle belonging to the UN peacekeeping mission in southern Lebanon, UNIFIL, wounded several observers. There was, however, no immediate comment from UNIFIL. And now to discuss more on this, I'm joined by Alex Kadia, DD India correspondent from Tel Aviv. A very good evening, Alex. First of all, when we talk about the current crisis, Netanyahu has once again asserted that Israel will return to the table for ceasefire talks with Hamas. What is the latest that you're tracking for us on this?
Yeah, well, 3 days after pulling negotiators out of the ceasefire process, the Israeli government has decided to put negotiators back in. So we understand that officials from Shin Bet, the security agency, officials from the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, will engage through mediators, of course, with Qatar, Egypt and the United States mediating to try and reach a ceasefire deal. They had previously pulled out of the negotiations because Hamas had refused the latest offer tabled by the United States and accepted by Israel, and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire in the release of the hostages had emboldened Hamas to do so. So the terms as they stood then were 40 Israeli hostages, that women, elderly and injured hostages, released in exchange for 700 Palestinian prisoners, 100 of which are serving life sentences for murdering Israelis. And that would have been the basis of the deal, but Hamas rejected that, saying that Israel had refused other parts of a ceasefire deal, including the full withdrawal of its troops from Gaza, the full return of civilians to northern Gaza, and a much longer lasting ceasefire as well, things that Israel at the moment cannot contend with and cannot accept. But there is enormous international pressure now on Israel to continue with these ceasefire talks, to reach a deal, because of the situation on the ground in Gaza is so desperately dire for civilians, Palestinian civilians there, as we understand. So certainly a lot of pressure on Israel to reach a deal. We understand the head of Shin Bet, Ronan Bar, and the head of the Mossad, David Barnea, will not be traveling to Cairo or Doha yet. But if those early stages of negotiations go well, maybe the senior leadership of these organizations may then travel to Doha or Cairo to reach a deal.
Another concern remains around the aid. So how, Alex, exactly the aid supply is going on when we talk about the supply to the civilian civilians currently? Because Israel has time and again said that they really recognize the unfortunate impact on the civilian population of Gaza, and they are allowing the aid to go inside Gaza.
Yeah, well, there are very much two different versions of one situation here. You have the Israeli government in response to the International Court of Justice when the ICJ ordered Israel to allow unfettered access to humanitarian aid, food, water, electricity, shelter, fuel into the Gaza Strip. Israel said it placed no limitations on aid going in, but clearly a very different picture presented by aid agencies. I was speaking to an UNRWA official. UNRWA is the United Nations or Agency for Palestinian Refugees, the largest aid agency operating in Gaza, and I asked, is aid now flowing in more freely? And the answer was no. The reverse is true, and the Israeli security checks are leading to less aid getting in. So certainly two different versions of the same story there. We also seen airdrops from the United States, from Jordan, from Singapore, from other countries flying over in the Gaza Strip, dropping food into Gaza, but sometimes missing their targets, and aid parcels fell into the sea, which led to Palestinians desperately hungry, swimming out, trying to get this aid, and some people lost their lives. So clearly, if people are trying to get into the ocean to get desperately needed food, the situation in Gaza remains very, very dire.
And we really hope that the negotiations move on a positive note. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for joining us right now and giving us the latest on the Israel-Gaza crisis. Moving on, a major cleanup effort is currently underway in the U.S. city of Baltimore, where crews are beginning to clear up the wreckage left by a collapsed bridge earlier this week. A cargo ship collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge on Tuesday. It remains in the middle of the Patapsco River, blocking shipping traffic. Officials say they are working in full speed to reopen the vital shipping channel. DD India's Sally Patterson has more.
Governor of the U.S. state of Maryland, Wes Moore, says workers at the scene have an incredibly complex job on their hands. They're tasked with cleaning up to 4,000 tons of debris left behind after Tuesday's bridge collapse in Baltimore. Authorities believe the bodies of 4 of the victims, who are presumed dead after the collision, could be buried underneath the rubble. Governor Moore says recovering them is a top priority to bring closure, he says, to their families. His state has been awarded an initial $60 million in emergency funds by the U.S. government to clear the vital waterway and begin rebuilding the bridge.
To know that out there you have to navigate high winds and electric wires, to go out there and to see it up close, you realize just how daunting a task this is. You realize how difficult the work is ahead of us. With a salvage operation this complex, and frankly, with a salvage operation this unprecedented, you need to plan for every single moment, and every time you take action to move a piece of wreckage, you understand that that requires you to reassess the situation.
U.S. President Joe Biden has promised to pay for the reconstruction, stressing the importance of the Port of Baltimore to the economy. More cars and trucks go through that port each year than any other in the country, and last year it transported $80 billion worth of goods. There are concerns that there could be a spike in prices, at least temporarily, while supply chains are disrupted. And more locally, at least 8,000 workers on the docks have jobs that are directly impacted by the collapse. Meanwhile, the National Transportation Safety Board is investigating what caused the incident. The agency is interviewing the crew members from the ship, which was headed to Sri Lanka. It's also revealed the cargo ship was carrying 56 containers of hazardous materials, some of which spilled during the crash. The agency's chair called the investigation a massive undertaking, which could take up to 2 years to complete. Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
Now, U.S. President Joe Biden says that he will go to Baltimore next week following Key Bridge collapse. Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed early on Tuesday after a cargo ship that had lost power hit the bridge in Baltimore Harbor in Maryland. Meanwhile, the United States government has approved an emergency fund of $60 million for the bridge's reconstruction. And construction workers in Baltimore paid tribute to the 6 migrants who were killed after the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The event was hosted by CASA, an organization that provides services to immigrant and working-class families in the United States, while 2 of the victims were the members of this organization.
We are joined together today for a somber moment of honoring the 6 brothers who lost their lives during the Key Bridge collapse this week, and the essential workers who performed the dangerous yet critical work of the construction industry.
God, we pray, Señor, oramos, that you open the doors, que tú abras la puerta, so that our people can work safely, para que nuestra gente puede trabajar seguros, without any danger, sin.
The United States will take steps to impose new visa restrictions on multiple Hong Kong officials on Friday who are responsible for intensifying crackdown on rights and freedoms in the Chinese-ruled territory. In a statement, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken noted that in the past year, China continued to take actions against Hong Kong's promised high degree of autonomy, democratic institutions and rights and freedoms, including with the recent enactment of a new national security law known as Article 23. Migrants reenacted the Way of the Cross on Friday on the Mexican side of the border with Texas. U.S. court kept a controversial anti-migration state law on hold this week. The law would make it a state crime to illegally enter or re-enter Texas from a foreign country, with prison sentences of up to 20 years for those who refuse to comply. The challenge to the Texas law is one in a series of legal disputes between Republican state officials and Biden administration over states' ability to police the border. Moving on, India's President Draupadi Murmu presented the highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, at Rashtrapati Bhavan today. Eminent personalities who received the Bharat Ratna were former Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao, known for introducing various liberal reforms to India's economy. Former Prime Minister Chaudhry Charan Singh, a freedom fighter and champion of farmers' rights, also received the prestigious award. Along with this, eminent scientist M.S. Swaminathan, who is remembered for his pivotal role in the Green Revolution in India and scientific contributions such as cytogenics and radiation, also received the Bharat Ratna today. Former Bihar Chief Minister Karpuri Thakur, known by the title Jananayak or Champions of the People, also received the prestigious Bharat Ratna awards, which were awarded posthumously. And now we are moving for a short break, but still to come. A Moscow district court on Friday ordered another suspect in the concert hall attack. Nigeria set to release more than 300 suspects who were thought to be part of the militant group Boko Haram. A tropical cyclone Gamin that swept across the islands of Madagascar this week killed at least 18 people.
Why is ISIS surging again, and what are its implications? What are the threats that it poses to international security and to India?
ISIS has been a very decentralized organization since the beginning, and that is what has given them benefit and has led them in this successful manner.
What India has done up till now is to, strike on the causes. So de-radicalization has been our prime focus to deal with the ISIS
rather than
issues.
a purely military response.
Yeah.
Is Indian judiciary really being undermined? Is there a threat to the judicial process?
Such attempts are being made to scandalize the institution, to tarnish the image of our judges through social media and the print media.
We should ignore such tactics, underhanded tactics. At its own peril, they come with the consequences.
If something is said about the judiciary, positive manner, and the criticism is still there, it is welcome. It is a welcome move.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. Well, in the latest from the massive Russian missile and drone attacks hitting the thermal and hydropower plants in central and western Ukraine in an overnight attack targeting the country's already damaged power infrastructure. Kyiv hydropower plant was among the targets along with Dnestr plant located on the Dnestr River. Now, last week, Russia also hit Ukraine's largest dam, which is the Dnipro in the southern Zaporizhia region. Ukraine received a $1.5 billion tranche of funding under a World Bank program to help it pay for its budget and social spending. And in Russia, a Moscow district court on Friday ordered another suspect in the concert hall attack to be held in custody until the 22nd of May pending trial. On the 22nd of March, a deadly attack at the Crocus City Hall killed at least 140 and injured several others. The ninth suspect, whose name is Latfuloy Nazrimad, a native of Tajikistan, has been charged under Russia's terrorist attack. And now to get us the latest, we have Dasha Chernyshova joining us from Moscow right now. Good evening, Dasha. Thank you so much for joining us right now. Well, as the Russia-Ukraine crisis enters its 765th day, there are fresh reports of attacks in Belgorod now. What is the latest that you can fill us with?
Well, that's right. Belgorod region is the border region of the Russian Federation. It is so close to the Ukrainian side that it is the subject of constant attacks from the Ukrainian armed forces. Now, we understand that a teenager has been injured in the most recent shelling in the Bryansk region, which is also nearby. But on a daily basis, we hear about drones and missiles being fired against the civilian targets in those border areas. Now, speaking of Belgorod, we understand that children have been taken outside this region, at least those who have been willing to do so, and the education for those remaining in the region will now be proceeded in the distant format. They will be studying online because of the risk of the security, because of this Ukrainian shelling. The day before, we've heard from the authorities in the Belgorod region that a drone has hit the multi-story building, killing at least one person. So on a daily basis, the reports of Belgorod region as well as Bryansk region and Kursk region, which are all close to the Ukrainian border, being hit by the Ukrainian fire, are constant now, and that's why the Russian authorities insist they continue with their so-called special military operation in Ukraine, now hitting the energy targets.
And when we talk about the concert hall attacks also, do you have the details that you can share with the viewers on the suspect, the ninth suspect, who is currently under pre-trial custody related to the case?
Well, certainly the probe is ongoing. The Russian investigative committee says it is arresting more and more of those accomplices who have been helping the four shooters, the four direct attackers of the Crocus City Hall act of terrorism. Now, we understand that the investigators are now looking into the proof that will be, and the evidence that will be linking the perpetrators who have carried out this attack with the Ukrainian side. Most recently, they said that the men who were hired to carry out this attack have been coordinated by the men on the Telegram messaging app. This man was sending them voice messages, and he was the one who told the attackers to actually flee towards the Ukrainian border and then to go to Kyiv to claim their award for what they have done in the Russian capital. So the understanding now is that the Russian investigators
investigators are trying to have more information with regards to who stands behind. They do admit that it is the Islamic State, radical Islamists banned in Russia, that are responsible for carrying it out. But the question they have, and is still apparently not answered, is who actually ordered these men to carry out this attack. So far, the preliminary information from the investigation all point that the perpetrators have to be found in Ukraine.
All right. Thank you so much, Dasha, for joining us and bringing us the latest on the suspects which are getting arrested on the Russia's hall that was attacked on the 22nd of March, and the latest from the Belgorod attack as well. Moving on, Russia has now vetoed the renewal of the UN panel of experts who monitor North Korea's compliance with international sanctions. The Kremlin says its veto is in line with its interest. The Russian move comes amid accusations from the United States, South Korea and other countries that Moscow purchases weapons from Pyongyang to use in its war in Ukraine. DD India's Dasha has more from Moscow.
Russia vetoed the UN Security Council resolution that sought to extend the monitoring of UN sanctions against North Korea over its nuclear program. Moscow says its veto comes as old approaches to solving the problem on the Korean peninsula have yielded no results and will not improve the security situation in the region. Russian Foreign Ministry's spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in the absence of mechanisms that revise the UN Security Council's sanctions and ease them, they only hinder confidence building and political dialogue. Zakharova pointed out that the group of experts of the UN Security Council's 1718 committee has, in her words, lost all the standards of objectivity and impartiality. She said that's why Moscow insists on establishing specific conditions for sanctions in order to review them and to make further decisions. Moscow's decision has been criticized by the Western countries that claim that Moscow is seeking to avoid scrutiny and allegedly violates those sanctions by buying weapons from Pyongyang. Moscow dismisses those accusations. The vote will have no impact on the actual sanctions against North Korea, which will remain in force. Dasha Chernshova in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
Nigeria is set to release more than 300 suspects who were thought to be part of the militant group Boko Haram. It follows the lack of evidence tying them to any crimes committed by the extremist group. DD India correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports.
At least 313 people have been on trial in northern Nigeria over suspicions of being members of the militant group Boko Haram. After a series of court proceedings, the judge sitting on the case has ordered the government to release them because the prosecutors could not provide evidence that the suspect had committed any crime. It is, however, not clear how long the suspects have been in custody or where they were being kept. But a government official says steps are underway to release them. Human rights groups have expressed concern over Nigerian authorities holding suspects for long periods without trial. In 2010, some Boko Haram suspects were detained and only went on trial 8 years later because of lack of enough evidence against them. The militant group Boko Haram has been active for more than 15 years, spreading violence and kidnapping people in many parts of northern Nigeria. In 2009, the group launched an insurgency which sought to overthrow the government. It has also been involved in the kidnapping of schoolgirls, most of whom have still not been found. Nabil Ahmed Rufai in Accra, Ghana, reporting for DD India.
A tropical cyclone Gamin that swept across the island of Madagascar this week has killed at least 18 people and displaced thousands more. The country's disaster management office confirmed. The cyclone was predicted to bypass the Indian Ocean island, but it changed its course, leaving hundreds of homes destroyed. DD India's Isaac Lucando has more.
Authorities say Cyclone Gaman has displaced more than 20,000 people, with 3 others still unaccounted for. They say the cyclone was advancing with wind speeds of around 150 kilometers per hour and gusts reaching 210 kilometers per hour. Aerial footage shows water-filled settlements with residents attempting to rescue those trapped in flooded homes. Humanitarian partners are working with authorities to scale up response, but assessing the full scope of the destruction has proven challenging. Many villages in the region remain cut off from the rest of the country, hampering access for rescue teams. The cyclone season in the southwestern Indian Ocean typically extends from November to April, generating about a dozen storms every year. For this reason, Madagascar, situated off the southeastern African coast, consistently endures the brunt of such severe weather events. A year ago, Tropical Cyclone Freddy wreaked havoc across the nation and its neighbors Mozambique and Malawi, resulting in the tragic loss of over 500 lives. Isaac Lukando in Dar es Salaam reporting for DD India.
Now, there are concerns over a rise in dengue across North and South America this year. The number of cases already in 2024 suggests it is likely to be the worst ever year, with places such as Puerto Rico scrambling to contain the mosquito-borne illness. Caroline Malone has more.
There have been 3.5 million cases of dengue so far only this year across the Americas. That's 3 times as many cases as there were in the first 3 months of 2023. It's setting a worrying trend for the illness that is spread by infected mosquitoes, as it can make people very sick with headaches, vomiting and severe joint pain, and it is potentially deadly. Well, one of the regions that's scrambling to contain an outbreak is the US territory of Puerto Rico, which has declared an epidemic as hospitalizations from the illness surge. Well, dengue is less common on the US mainland, but there have been cases in Florida, Texas and California states in recent years. Well, the majority of cases in the region are in Brazil, Paraguay, Argentina, Peru and Colombia. Scientists think that changing weather from climate change is having an impact on this year's spread. Plus, there's also El Niño, which is creating warmer temperatures and rising sea levels. Well, dengue comes from the Aedes aegypti mosquito. It's commonly found in warmer, more humid parts of the world, particularly if there's bad sanitation and water gathering where mosquitoes can breed rapidly. Last year, there were 4.5 million cases across the Americas and 2,400 reported deaths. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. 11 people have been injured in a cruise ship accident on the River Danube. The Bulgarian cruise ship crashed into a concrete wall in a sluice in the northern Austrian town of Ashka and the Donau overnight. Local police reported that some 160 passengers were on board, travelling from Bavaria in Germany to Linz in Austria. Japan and the European Union are planning to initiate talks on collaborating in development of advanced materials for next-gen chips and batteries, aiming to reduce their dependence on China. And Nicaraguans marked Good Friday in the patio of Cathedral of Managua amid reports of restrictions from authorities on processions during Easter. Government has banned Holy Week street processions in the past due to security concerns, while Good Friday marks Jesus' death by crucifixion. It continues to Sunday when Christians believe Jesus rose from the dead. Tunisia's island is seeing bustling commercial activity during the holy month of Ramadan. Desserts and dishes like sardouk sweets, dole porridge and pataklet fish are taking center stage in the island's market. Special customs and traditions are also being observed by many families. It's time to take a short break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. After 12-hour operation in the Arabian Sea, Indian Navy freed at least 23 Pakistani nationals from the grasp of Somali pirates. Indian Army carried out the Rising Sun BrahMos missile strike over the Andaman and Nicobar Islands on Friday. Concerns over rising dengue cases on a continuous rise in North and South America.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Is Indian judiciary really being undermined? Is there a threat to the judicial process?
Such attempts are being made to scandalize.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. And now let's quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu agrees to send delegations to Egypt and Qatar to push forward the negotiations. US President Joe Biden announces plans to visit Baltimore next week, says he wants the federal government to pay for the bridge's reconstruction. Indian President Draupadi Murmu confers Bharat Ratna, the highest civilian award, to 5 luminaries. Vice President Jagdeep Thankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends the award ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan. In yet another heroic show of valor, the Indian Navy freed at least 23 Pakistani nationals from the grasp of Somali pirates after a 12-hour operation in the Arabian Sea. The rescue happened in the early hours of the 29th of March when the pirate-held hijacked vessel FV Alkambar was intercepted by the Indian Navy cruiser INS Sumedha. And with quick thinking, the guided missile frigate INS Trishul quickly joined INS Sumedha to support the mission. Indian naval troops used their strategic planning and strategic coordination to initiate negotiations with the pirates, compelling them to surrender without any bloodshed. The Indian Army, in a breathtaking display of precision and strength, carried out the Rising Sun BrahMos missile strike over Andaman and Nicobar Islands on Friday. Posting images and videos on social media platform X, Army's Eastern Command said the BrahMos missile soared high above the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, igniting the skies with its unparalleled might. This showcased Indian Army's capability as a formidable force for peace and security in the Indo-Pacific region. While the event serves as a reminder of India's dedication to defending its sovereignty and fostering regional stability. An Indian Army released a video of Akash Air Defence System quick deployment and engagement of high maneuverable aerial target drones. Take a look. And now let's get you the latest on what's happening in India in the run-up to the largest democratic election of the world. India's Election Commission has issued a notification banning the conduct, publication or publicizing the exit polls between the 19th of April till the 1st of June, when votes will be cast for the Lok Sabha and Assembly elections, which is to be held in 4 states, including northeastern states of Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, eastern state of Odisha and southern state of Andhra Pradesh, as well as by-elections to be held in different states. BJP's President JP Nadda announced the Election Manifesto Committee for the upcoming parliamentary elections of 2024. The party has appointed Rajnath Singh as the leader of the committee, aiming for a third consecutive term in the centre. Nirmala Sitharaman and Piyush Goyal will serve as the convener and co-convener respectively of the Manifesto Committee. Indian National Congress's General Secretary Jairam Ramesh addressed the media ahead of the INDI opposition bloc's rally, which is scheduled to take place in the national capital on Sunday.
मुद्दा है लोकतंत्र को बचाना, मुद्दा है संविधान को बचाना। व्यक्ति केंद्रित रैली नहीं है। दूसरी बात मैं कहूं, ये किसी एक पार्टी की रैली नहीं है। कुछ 28 पार्टियां इसमें शामिल हैं। सारे इंडिया गठबंधन, इंडिया जनबंधन इसमें शामिल है।
Now, former member of the Karnataka BJP Legislative Council, Tejaswani Gowda, rejoined India's opposition party, Congress, today. She had tendered her resignation from her post on Wednesday. Earlier, Dr. Tejaswani was a Congress member of the parliament between 2004 till 2009. South Chennai BJP candidate Tamilisai Soundararajan met with BJP national spokesperson C.R. Kesavan today. During their meeting, Kesavan called Soundararajan as Modi ki guarantee for South Chennai. Opposition member of Maharashtra's Legislative Assembly and politician from the Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray wing of the Shiv Sena party, Ambadas Dandve, has dismissed the rumours of him joining the Bharatiya Janata Party or Eknath Shinde-led faction of Shiv Sena. He reassured his respect for Balasaheb Thackeray and said he will continue to act from his current party. Archana Patil Chakurkar, daughter-in-law of senior Congress leader and former Union Home Minister Shivraj Patil, joined the Bharatiya Janata Party in the presence of Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis in Mumbai. And now to discuss more on this, I am joined by DD India correspondent Shishir Shelar from Mumbai. Good evening, Shishir. Thank you so much for joining us. What is the latest buzz that is going on related to the elections in Maharashtra? We know that the elections in Maharashtra would be held in 5 different phases, but the buzz is already on with a lot of rage.
Well, absolutely. You rightly heard that, and probably today we have seen quite an important, developments take place in Maharashtra as well. We have seen the big leaders are joining party right now today. We've seen Dr. Archana Patil have joined BJP. Archana Patil is a well-known name in Maharashtra's Latur district, and she is also daughter-in-law of country's ex-Home Minister Shivraj Singh Patil also. And that's the reason the leaders who are coming from such a big background actually is helping at the same time to the parties here. What we've got to know is that now the BJP has got quite a good stronghold in the Marathwada region of Maharashtra. Now earlier it was a Congress bastion, but now after Ashok Chavan joining BJP, the ex-Maharashtra Chief Minister also joined BJP a few days back, and now we have seen Dr. Archana Patil also joining BJP. It gives strength BJP to the Marathwada region. Now, of course, it's quite a difficult time for the Congress in this particular region, because earlier Marathwada and Vidarbha both were Congress bastion. We have seen that how Vidarbha has changed, and now BJP has quite a dominant face in Vidarbha, be it Union Minister Nitin Gadkari or Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra Devendra Fadnavis comes from Vidarbha. And now we have seen that big leaders from Marathwada also joining hands with the BJP, making the BJP quite strong in the Marathwada and Vidarbha region. Now the second important development is that the Nationalist Congress Party of Sharad Pawar will declare its candidature tomorrow. What we got to know from the party sources that probably by today evening they will they'll come out with the first list of the candidates for the Lok Sabha polls here. Apart from that, we've also heard that there'll be a meeting of the leaders along with the MVA leaders also will be meeting. Sharad Pawar will also be meeting tonight here in the city. At the same time, at this point in time, as far as the seat sharing is concerned, all the political parties right now is having different rounds of meeting with their leaders here, be it BJP, Congress, Shiv Sena, or the NCP Sharad Pawar party or NCP Ajit Pawar party. All of them currently is actually holding a various rounds of meeting here before they come out with the final list of candidature here. What we've also got to know that on 3rd of April, the Mahavikas Aghadi will come out for the press conference and probably will give all the answers regarding the seat sharing ratio in Maharashtra and what could be the battle, it's going to be in Maharashtra and how the MVA will tackle all those issues. That will be on 3rd of April. At the same time, from the NDA camp in Maharashtra, the Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis today said that in a couple of days they will sort it out, all the seat sharing formula, and probably will get to know exactly that who will be contesting election from which seat. Because these stalwarts, if you name of them, actually at this point in time are quite skeptical whether they're going to get the ticket or not.
Right.
And if they didn't get the ticket, then probably the parties are quite fearful at this point in time that these big leaders may turn rebel, and that's the reason we are seeing the delay, in the announcing of the candidature.
All right, thank you so much, Shishir, for joining us and bringing us all the latest from Maharashtra on the upcoming elections. Moving on, India's Minister of Jal Shakti, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, filed his nomination from Rajasthan's Jodhpur constituency for the 3rd time on Saturday. He also addressed the nomination rally at Polo Ground in Jodhpur. Rajasthan's Chief Minister Bhajan Lal Sharma, MLAs of 8 assemblies and a large number of BJP workers were also present on the occasion. Moving on, the International Year of Millets 2023 concluded on Friday at the Food and Agriculture Organization headquarters in Italy's capital, Rome. The closing ceremony of the IYM 2023 aimed to reinforce the momentum created throughout the year for the continued strengthening of the millets value chain. During the event, India's Additional Secretary of the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Maninder Kaur Dwivedi, underscored the significance of India's thriving millet ecosystem in increasing promotion and adoption of millets. The Millennium Seed Bank is celebrating a major milestone after banking more than 40,000 different plant species in an effort to preserve rare, threatened and important wild plants. Dubbed the Noah's Ark for plants, the MSB holds the Guinness World Record for the largest seed bank facility on the earth. Let's listen in.
Under this typical British landscape lies a very international one. Seeds from more than 100 countries are stored at the Millennium Seed Bank. As flooding, drought and wildfires sweep the world with increasing frequency, the project aims to protect the plants facing destruction.
Seed banks are the way to say, right, well, we need to fix that problem in situ. Let's get the seed off-piste, if you like. We get them back in the seed bank so we can look after them, keep them in good quality, so that when we do have this climate modification or climate strategies to help prevent that raising of temperature on the East African mountains, as an example, we're ready to go. We're ready with material that can be used to put things back in the wild.
Seeds are collected from the wild and sent to the bank for processing. After being cleaned and dried, they make their way into a specially designed underground facility. 2 in 5 of the world's plant species are at risk of extinction. To protect them, their seeds are kept inside this vault, which is resistant to flooding, explosions, and radiation. 2.4 billion individual seeds are stored here. The project is the result of extensive networks with scientists around the world.
We don't have an active partnership with India at the moment, but at a recent workshop in Bhutan back in October of last year, we were lucky enough to have a botanist from the Botanical Survey of India come to offer his expertise. He was very excited about setting up a seed banking collaboration with other. India has vast botanical expertise, but they don't have a big network of seed banks, so we're very excited to work with them about helping them to develop, increase their seed conservation capacity.
The seed bank has been described as an insurance policy against extinction. In the event of disaster, these backups will provide the key to restoring natural habitats. Julia Chapman in West Sussex, England, reporting for DD India.
And now in DD India News Hour, let's quickly take a look at other stories making news. Enforcement Directorate filed a charge sheet in Delhi Jal Board money laundering case in New Delhi today in the matter of alleged corruption in tendering a flow meter procurement. Delhi Transport Minister Kailash Gehlot arrived at the office of the ED after the agency issued summons to him to appear for questioning in money laundering case linked to Delhi's excise policy. Rang Panchami was being celebrated in India's state of Madhya Pradesh. Rang Panchami is a Hindu festival marked on the 5th day following the festival of Holi. During Rang Panchami, people sprinkle or smear coloured powder on each other, similar to Holi. Special cell of the Delhi police filed its first charge sheet in a news portal NewsClick case registered under the provisions of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or UAPA following allegations that the news portal received huge money for pro-China propaganda. We are moving for a short break but still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Rohan Bopanna with his Australian counterpart Matthew-Ebden all set to be in action at Miami Open Super Finale. Lucknow Super Giants all set to take on Punjab Kings in Indian Premier League Saturday clash. And Holi celebrations continues in Colombo as Indian diaspora celebrated the Festival of Colours on beach side.
They are a threat to the judicial process.
Such attempts are being made to scandalize the institution, to tarnish the image of our judges through social media and the print media.
We should ignore such tactics, underhanded tactics. At its own peril, they come with the consequences.
If something is said about the judiciary, positive manner, and the criticism is still there, it is welcome. It is a welcome move.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. And now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports. First up, from the world of tennis, India's seasoned player Rohan Bopanna and his Australian teammate Matthew-Ebden will take on Croatia's Ivan Dodig and his American partner Austin Krajicek in the Miami Open final today. The duo sealed a solid straight sets victory over Spain's Marcel Granollers and his Argentine partner Horacio Zeballos by 6-1 and 6-4. Earlier, the Indo-Aussie pair beat Australia's Sam Vebeck and his Netherlands partner John Patrick Smith. We have DD India sports correspondent Narayan Singh to talk more about this. Narayan, when we talk about tonight's finale, again the words are reverberating that age is just a number. And when we talk about Rohan Bopanna, it comes to life once again.
True, if you talk about Rohan Bopanna, right now he's 44 years old, and at the age of 43 in the previous season, especially in the year 2023, we saw him just in the two finals of the Grand Slams and winning the 1000 Masters title and also winning the gold medal at the Asian Games. He has done all these things in 2023 at the age of 43, and in the year 2024 he was just moved this one step ahead with winning the Australian Open men's doubles final with Matthew-Ebden, and by doing this he has done, we can say that it's a journey from decline to domination, from skepticism to we can say the discovery. And if you take a look his journey throughout his tennis journey, it all started we can say that 2 decades behind, and right now in 2017 when he was suffering with the knee problems and the back problem, we saw that at one point of time in 2017 he decided to quit the tennis, but in that year only he won the mixed doubles French Open title with the Canadian player Dabrowski, and at that time he was taking painkillers to keep all his troubles at bay, but he continued his journey, and again we saw in 2019 he was again contemplating to quit the tennis, but during the COVID lockdown in 2020 he discovered and we came to know about the Iyengar yoga, and that was the catalyst behind his performance and his longevity. And tonight he will play another 1000 Masters titles final, and that is against the two formidable opponents, Ivan Dodig and Austin Krajicek. So we are hoping that he will continue that trend that is started in 2023 and win another title this time around.
From killing the pain to making his own name on the international arena once again. So we are also expecting a #1 ranking for Rohan Bopanna here when the rankings are announced on Monday. But how this victory especially and this entry into the finals would pacify his way to the Paris Olympics, Narayan?
If you take a look in the past few months, there was a decline in the form of the Rohan Bopanna. He faced the early round exits in the Dubai Championships and Indian Wells. Now again he's made we can say the comeback considering the dip in the form, and again he's in the finals. This shows that he has defied all we can say odds, and he in true sense he just showed that to the new generation and his contemporary players that age is just a number, and he's defied all the barriers, and we can say that definitely he's already there in the Olympics, and he qualified for the Olympics, and we are hoping that tonight again he will create history here. Already after winning the Australian Open in 2024, he made a historic achievement by becoming the oldest male player to become the world #1, and because dip in the form in the past few weeks, we saw he slipped to the #2 in the ranking, and when rankings will be announced on Monday, again he will be back there, and that is at the age of 44 years. So it shows that what a miracle yoga has done in his life, and many times he has announced, he has accepted that he has no cartilages in his knees, and despite that he is performing at such a huge level at a pinnacle of the sports, and we are hoping tonight also he will do a miracle and win another 1000 Masters title for India.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Narayan, for joining us and bringing us the latest. The entire nation is hoping that Rohan Bopanna once again lifts this coveted title with his Australian partner. Now, moving on to IPL, Lucknow Super Giants will lock horns with Punjab Kings at the Ekana Cricket Stadium in Lucknow. Both the teams are hungry for redemption following recent defeats and are geared up for a fierce encounter in match 11 of the IPL. The spotlight falls on Lucknow Super Giants, who are led by dynamic duo of KL Rahul and Quinton de Kock, who are eager to shake off the disappointment of their opening match defeat. While both teams strive for improvement, Lucknow holds the edge with 2 victories in 3 encounters against Punjab. Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitrov defeated Alexander Zverev by 6-4, 6-7 and 6-4 in a thrilling contest on Friday to reach the Miami Open final. Dimitrov will now face world number 3 Yannick Sinner in the finals. Sinner powered past defending Miami Open champion Daniel Medvedev by 6-1, 6-2 to reach the final for 2nd year in a row. Now, Sinner's only loss this season was a semi-final defeat to Carlo Alcaraz in Indian Wells 2 weeks ago. The 22-year-old now becomes the first player this season to reach 3 finals. Holi celebrations continued in Colombo as the Indian diaspora celebrated the Festival of Colours on the beach side. Colombo Indians revered the festival at Colombo's Mount Lavinia Hotel beach that also witnessed participation by Sri Lankans. The High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, and other officials of the Indian mission also participated in the celebrations. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika Mehtu, and from all of us here in Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.